suddenly cut out in the middle of our community call, and we think maybe it's because someone did that word. Oh, it's a bit crazy. Scandalous.
Oh, you have fixed it. It's okay.
Oh, that's okay.
Let me fix
They're
it.
just little suction cups. Hi, everyone. Don't know if you can hear us or see us.
Hello. Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Hi.
This is Christian from Open Knowledge. Glad to be here.
Hi. Nice to have you join us.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Oh, sorry for being a little late.
No problem. We're still getting started, so don't worry about it. There are other people around the table who you can't see, so I'm going to ask them all to lean in and give you a wave.
No, that's fine. I can hear your voices, so that's great.
Well, why don't we start with a quick go around so that everyone knows who everyone is, and we can start in real life and then we'll move on to the digital version. I'll start. My name is Becca Khan. I have recently been hired as the Open Coalition Coordinator. All 4 days into the job. It's really lovely to have all these people here 4 days in. It's a sign that there really was a need, I think, for this, which is really exciting. Yeah, I'm a South African based in London, and I've been working in the open space for a little while, so I'm excited to kick this all off.
I'm Adrian Aldcroft. I'm an associate editor at PLOS ONE. I've been there for about 6 months, and then previously I was at Biomed Central, so I've been working in open access for 3 years now.
Same. Hi, I'm Hera. I am the community manager for Open Corporates, the world's largest open database of the corporate world. And we've been involved in lots of different initiatives, and I'm quite new to open data, so but I think I've got the hang of it. I think
you can teach her.
I love it. So yeah, small introduction.
My name is John Cummings. I was the Wikimedia resident for the Natural History Museum and Science Museum until recently, and I'm helping to organise Wikimedia at Wikimedia UK.
Okay. Yeah, I'm helping that as well.
And if you guys who are online can hear us, would you like to do a quick introduction?
Sure. I think there's two of us here. Marielle, you want to go first?
I think Marielle might be watching.
Okay, great. Oh, she's writing in the chat now, actually. Okay, but I mean, I can go then. So my name is Christian, and I'm the International Community Manager for Open Knowledge. Specifically, I oversee our local groups network, which stretches out over a little more than 40 countries. So I basically communicate with open everything advocates from pretty much every corner of the world. I was also really fortunate to be part of the Mozilla Fest session where I met, among other, John, and we had a really great time discussing some of these ideas that have since proliferated so beautifully into the Open Coalition. So from my end, there's also my colleague Caitlin Rogers, who I think will be joining us very shortly. I think she's wrapping up another call. And we do have a couple of other colleagues that are peripherally part of this. Beatrice is one of them. And Caitlin is actually sort of the main contact from our end, but I just basically wanted to come in and be part of this inaugural call and meet everyone and show my support and everything and hear how all the ideas will start to hopefully grow and so on. So really excited to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. And Stevie has just joined us. So Stevie, do you want to lean into the camera and give me an introduction?
You have to lean in.
That's who you are and why you're here. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Stevie. I'm from Wikimedia UK, and I'm here just to see what I can do to help, and I think we're going to start achieving some really excellent stuff together.
You can see everybody else now, and that's me.
Hello.
Yes. Now they know.
So I thought maybe, and this is totally open, so you feel free to add anything you want. But I thought what we might do is perhaps start with a little bit of the history of the coalition, if people want that, just as a kind of background to why it's coming to being. And Stevie and John, you guys were there right at the beginning, and Christian as well, so feel free to jump in at any point if I get anything wrong. Then I thought what we could do is maybe have a quick talk about what's on the horizon for the next few months. There's some really exciting stuff which has happened, and it's happened really quickly, so I'm really excited to share it with everyone, and all input would be, well, that's why we're here, right? As much input as possible. We can start doing together. And then I thought what we might be able to end with is, we don't yet have a website or a logo. We have Twitter, so we're out there, we're getting there. But one of the things we do need is a mission statement, and so I thought maybe we could work together on beginning to craft a useful mission statement which can kind of guide what we do for the next few months. So, in terms of the history of the project, and Stevie, feel free to interrupt at any point. But it grew out of a kind of general sense amongst people who were working, or organizations who were working in the open space, that there was a lot of overlap, there was a lot of replication of effort. There wasn't always the best communication between organizations, and there was a lot of working in silos. So you'll have 2 or 3 organizations working on open education projects, or open access advocacy, or open data projects. And a lot of times what's happening is resources are being built again and again, or content is being built again and again. The same funds are being approached for funding for certain projects. And what that really meant was that everyone was working really hard and not always particularly effectively in terms of furthering the goals of the objectives of openness. And there was a sense of, when was MozFest last year? Kind of end of the summer?
End of
October. And there was a session at MozFest, and I wasn't there, but representatives from Mozilla, Open Knowledge, Wikimedia, Creative Commons, OpenStreetMap.
OpenStreetMap, yeah, they helped with planning. I'm not sure if anyone from the map got along.
Yeah.
There was quite a big group actually. We used to post this, drew pictures, and snapping, and
yeah. And a consensus grew out of there that to build a coalition around furthering the objectives of openness in the work that we all do, and helping all these organizations to work together in a better way would be a useful endeavor. And Wikimedia stepped up like the champs that they are and said, we've got a desk and some seed funding, and so the coalition was born. And at the moment, the project has funding for 6 months, so we'll see how we go. And with any luck, we do some world-changing stuff, and someone will come and give us money for another 6 months, or possibly even longer. That would be amazing. In terms of the thinking around the project, we have very conveniently 3 big events coming up in the next 6 months, which are really useful, I think, for working around. So we've got OKFest in Berlin in July, there's Wikimania in August, and there's MozFest in October. And that takes us really neatly to the end of the 6 months. And so one of the things that Stevie and I have been talking about, and I would love to hear what you guys think, is that the objectives of the project should be connected, at least in terms of collaborative work and deliverables, to those 3 events, because it's a really nice way for people to come together who are all working within the space, and we can share what we're doing. Because I think we're also all really busy, and if your organizations are anything like the organizations I've worked in, we're small, we don't have massive staff, we don't have massive budgets. We're all really busy, and so this project really needs to be a help rather than one more thing on the to-do list. So I'm very aware of that. Yeah, in terms of deliverables, at the moment the world is our oyster and the sky's the limit, as far as it's practically possible. But we've definitely been thinking about producing some reports, and what those might look like, again, is up in the air, if it would be what we're comfortable with. But certainly the idea that we have reports that can be distributed to anyone working in the open space or thinking about moving into openness as part of their working practice. And Stevie described it really well. He said it would be really useful if people could start thinking about openness in the way that they think about the environment. So you factor that into your working practice, And if people can start thinking about factoring using open licenses or sharing the data openly or opening up the content to people who need them, or even within their kind of organizational structures in terms of reporting or transparency, that would be a wonderful achievement. And if we can produce resources at the end of this project that can help with that, I think that would be a wonderful win. I think that shouldn't be the only one, because I think that there are two levels at which I think we're operating, and the one is that. So we have a wider public out there who are interested in this stuff, who maybe don't quite understand it, who want to know how to implement these sorts of things in their work. But then I think there's also the organizations. And I think that there are benefits for all of us to be had from a coalition that kind of helps us work together. And I would love to see something like some collaborative funding proposals put together that could be funded and actually turn into something real. Building connections between other organizations, a kind of event and content aggregator where people are talking about the projects they're working on and can pull in people from other organizations to maybe help them. Those sorts of things I think would be amazing and go a long way to helping us work more effectively, and I think more happily in the field as well. I think it can be really hard sometimes, particularly for small organizations who see what other people are doing and think, well, we don't have the resources to do that, when actually there is potential and possibility there. How we're going to do this is the bajillion-dollar question. Twitter, we do Twitter, and our 70 followers.
70?
70.
Wow.
In 4 days.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
We have Wikimedia on your side.
That is really impressive.
We will get there.
As a past social media manager, that is very impressive.
Is it?
Yes.
That makes me feel so much better than you
Yes,
said.
definitely impressive.
I thought it was really good. I'm going to claim it now.
You definitely should.
I mean, certainly as of today, we have a website. Well, we have a domain, and we're working on that.
Website.
Yeah, did you hear me swearing at the end of the room? Good, because I was loudly. We'll use the website, and certainly a blog as a way of communicating with people. If people would like, we will have a mailing list to add to more email in our inboxes, but it is a good way of getting in touch with people. And perhaps we can think about maybe making it broadcast only and having discussions elsewhere if people prefer that. There are loads of options. We have these events coming up, so obviously those are going to be important milestones for us. And then really, to my mind, we're relying on people who are with the coalition to help us make it happen. And I think that's why it would be really interesting to hear perhaps what you guys would like to see from the coalition, or how it could be helpful in your organizations, and what might be good for you. Do you have any thoughts? I know we kind of sprung this on you guys.
I mean, so the CEO of Open Corporates, Chris Taggart, he's been saying this for a few years, that we need to have one central. There are too many replications, too many people not talking to each other, too many startups dying because they're doing good things but nobody's supporting them. So there is definitely a need for that. I think so from an Open Corporates perspective, we'd really like to help in any way possible in making sure that we don't, we're losing the battle against closed data. Closed data is definitely winning. And the worry is a lot of people appear to be open when they're not. And, so I think OCAP has done some great work in sort of claiming, making it very clear what the difference between open and closed is. But because the open space is so dispersed, something like the coalition could be very, very significant in not just being a show and tell, and this is what we're doing, or this is what we need help with, but also being what are the challenges and what are the resources we can really draw upon. Having like one front. So I know ODI does a lot of work on this, but again, they're now slowly starting to become global. If we could have something that is that goes beyond show and tell and tries to create a community and puts them together, that would be very useful.
Yeah, I think like the sharing of specialist knowledge is really important. Like I don't know anything about open data for corporations, but obviously you do, and also to create a workflow. So like different open organisations can work together to provide a service between them.
Yeah.
So we have like museums coming into Wikimedia UK who say we want to make this stuff available on Wikipedia, and then maybe we can work with someone who digitizes things.
Joining of the dots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to know about the whole kind of landscape before you can have this completely value to bridge.
It's kind of the same with POS. We just implemented a policy where we sort of require authors to upload their data so it's publicly available. We didn't really know what was going to happen. We kind of did, because there's no way you can predict what's going to happen. And it's fine. We've seen some good things, but obviously some data it's difficult to share. And a lot of people say we've got too much data, we can't share it, we can't put it in the manuscript. So, you know, I'm wondering why we can't host that data, or at least come up with some sort of team or, you know, organizational agreement, you know, to host the data so people know where to go and there's less confusion. It's not a crazy idea.
No, not at all. And I think that the overlaps often between people who understand why opening data is impact, but don't really understand open access, for example. And, you know, you guys have pioneered that, and you really understand the ins and outs of the practicalities of what it actually means to be an open access journal, for example. That stuff is gold, right? And a lot of people aren't actually aware of the complexities of that stuff. In as much as, you know, having access to the expertise of Creative Commons who can really help you pick through the minutiae of the license. Yeah. I mean, so I also work for an organization called P2PU, Peer-to-Peer University, and we're a small open educational project, completely distributed. And we often have people approaching us who want to do research on the organization. We've always asked them if they make that data available. We wanted to release the data, and we didn't know the best license to choose, and it was a real battle for us. We spoke to all of our friends in all the different organizations who deal with data and deal with licenses and all that kind of stuff, but to really pick through how to choose the right license for our data was really difficult, and I think could be a real stumbling block for small organizations who want to do this. We could help with those sorts of big projects or kind of seemingly intimidating projects which don't actually need to be big.
Because I find at POS, as an editor, you have to know a little bit about everything in terms of open access. So it'd be great just to have somebody to consult or, you know, somebody to provide advice on.
So are you so in terms of business model, do you think this would be something like a membership organized, like a thing, or would it just be like a campaign? I know this is very early, it's like 4 days. 4 days into this.
We've even got a sustainability plan.
Yeah? No. Okay, I was like, really cool.
Euro millions is absolutely.
No, but wait, I was just interested because I thought if there's an early indication of what you're thinking.
So really, the whole point for me is that anyone interested in working more collaboratively with other organizations that are interested or active and open can help shape that work. So it's not for Becca or for Wikimedia UK or any other group to say, this is what we have to do, this is the way we're going to be working. It's very much about participation and about everyone having a say in how that work shapes. How that works in practice, we don't know yet because it hasn't been done. But it very much needs to be guided by the people that participate. Whether it develops into some kind of membership organisation, that's a long way down the road. What we're really trying to do at the moment is to try and provide some kind of easy and loose and flexible framework for facilitating collaboration. So the coalition will very much be kind of a portal for learning about what other groups are doing, where they might need help, what they can offer, and we want it to be shaped by as many hands as possible.
I think that's a good point. I think mapping is definitely one thing. I mean, especially since I was very new to this a month and a half ago, and I wanted to find out, you know, I had to ask people who have been working in the open space, and they know it all because they work in it. But for someone who's just coming new, but even if they heard of, I haven't heard of that one, but I'm sure that one organization has existed for a long time. Just nobody knew about them.
I think there's one of the ways you could map these open organizations is go to things like MasterFest get photos of the back of people's laptops. Because there's so many small organizations, like 2 people working on like this tiny like software library that everybody relies on. Yeah.
That's actually a fantastic idea. I think just, on top of everything else, that should be an objective.
We should have a sticker which asks people to do that, to submit to a hashtag with the Twitter, so we can track it.
Or just a sticker with dotted line. Fill in the dotted line.
Who are you?
Hashtag Open Coalition. Just know who everyone is scanning. Well, that actually leads quite nicely, I think, to possibly our first project, which is really exciting. Stevie, again, feel free to jump in and correct me if I get the details wrong, but last week we had a meeting at Demos, which is the civil society and political engagement think tank here in the UK. And they are busy working on a submission to Parliament here, which is the result of a call from the Speaker's Office, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Who's looking for submissions on the need to engage the public and kind of think about how people work digitally and engage with governments and civil society through the digital medium. And that's a fairly wide open call from their perspective. And so we sat with Demos and were talking to them about the possibilities of perhaps using Wikipedia and Wikimedia UK chapter specifically to start crowdsourcing some submissions on digital transparency. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's partly digital transparency, but it's also partly digital engagement. So one of the areas of interest for House of Commons and for Demos is there was great promise over digital democracy. There's a real sense that people could be engaged in a much more active way. They could have much more strong say in the development of legislation and the way legislation is developed, enforced, and enacted, and that hasn't really happened. So what we're looking at doing is getting some evidence from groups that work on large-scale projects, such as Wikimedia Foundation, UK, and seeing if that approach to developing legislation and developing evidence that helps to fit into legislation is practically applicable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then what came out of that conversation was the possibility that also what the coalition could do is, at a kind of meta level, perhaps, work on a submission from the coalition about how, because we span so many different organizations and so many different places where people do engage with democracy, and I think the notion of democracy in the open space is often is developed in quite different ways, because we think of the open space as kind of place where we make the laws or the rules or the norms. Think about working on a submission at a kind of meta level about how all of our communities and how we would imagine the engagement that might happen within our communities taking place. So the timeline for that is quite long, and we've got a while, and we're waiting to hear back from Demos in terms of specifically what a submission might involve. But if people within the coalition are interested, I think that could be a really interesting collaborative project. It's also a nice test of the theory, right? If we can pull this off.
So it would be like a joint voice to policymakers then, we're not like 500 people all talking at once. It's like,
which, may or may not be the case. We'll have to prove that we're not.
So aside from gathering evidence for the speaker and the House of Commons and the Demos, it's also clear evidence for coalition and the parties to see if this kind of collaboration, see if this project is an effective way of us engaging with partners. So it works on an awful lot of levels. It's really fortuitous.
So does that sound like something that might interest you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd really like to know how exactly what kind of input would be best, I suppose, because in the past few weeks I've seen so many Google Docs that my head is like Google Doc'd out. Especially when it comes to policy, because it's really difficult to get that. I think if we can get like a very clear, like what's the best way, especially because some of you will know people who've done this for a while and they know exactly what the best way of feeding into. That would be very, very useful.
Some kind of open platform with version control would work really well. So,
Like Google Docs,
Like,
which is
no, not
open,
so
but
much.
open.
I was thinking more along the lines of a media wiki platform.
Oh, okay. I was
Someone
joking.
on Etherpad, so
Yeah.
not only do you have the version control, you can also see where certain content is coming from.
Yeah.
That can kind of help you. You can see where all the different perspectives are and how you use them together. That's really good. And digital frames are quiet.
Yeah.
Are you guys still there?
Hello?
We're still here, yeah. The sound is a little tricky, so it's hard to hear everything that's being said, but we're picking up most of it, I think.
Okay.
Might be time for the condenser microphone.
What? Sorry?
That sounds fancy.
Exactly. See if I can find a microphone.
Yeah, maybe that will help. We're trying to make out what's being said.
Did you hear about? Did you hear what I was saying about the submission with demos?
I heard some of that, but I only heard the first part, and then sound became really distorted.
Sorry about that.
So, but I was hoping that there would be some notes that I could read afterwards, and also pass on to Caitlin and so on.
There are, and what I'll do is I'll post these notes from the meeting today, and I will also make sure that this video gets uploaded as well. So
Great.
something
That's
that
excellent.
I can watch what might be missing.
Wonderful. Thank you.
No problem. And wow, that's a fancy microphone.
It's very fancy.
It's directional, so we might need to move it depending on who's speaking. You're listening to radio.
Broadcasting live.
Say something, Beck. Let's see if that works.
Can you hear me better now?
Thank you. Now we feel really special now. Thank you very much.
Can you see the microphone? It's gold. This is a very special microphone.
Yeah, very, I see that. That's great. I don't. It didn't change very much, but then again, sound is fine now. It was just before on occasion that it was distorted, so it might actually be the connection more so than the microphone in the computer. But let's try it out.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, the Demos project I think will be an interesting test project for us, and a great way to get started in a non-Google Doc collaborative space that suits everybody. And I'm happy to just keep the kind of communication going around that, and everyone can jump in as much as they're willing and capable. But I thought what might be useful, because I don't want to keep you guys too long, it's a beautiful afternoon, and really, who would want to be sitting inside? Surely we should be outside. But I thought what might be quite useful is to think, as you said, about mapping the space. That would be, I think, an interesting way for us to start getting a sense of the scope of the project, and then working, if we have enough time, on a mission statement. At least a first skeleton of a mission statement can be fleshed out as we go. So in the spirit of open organizations, we have Post-its, as we always do. And and I was wondering if perhaps what you could do is just write your organization and two organizations that you know of who are doing something similar to what you do. Each name on a Post-it, and then we can try and start kind of building a visual map of the space. And if you can think of more than two, then obviously go ahead and do more than two, but I don't want you to feel like you know, scrape. Grab a Post-it. And Kristen, if you can think of two organizations who do something similar to what you guys do, then I can add you guys to the list, the map.
Sure thing. I'll put them in the chat.
We've got fancy pens.
Yeah, I want a fancy pen.
Yeah.
The worst feeling in the world is having a marker that doesn't work.
Exactly. And then it doesn't look as do you want to put the names of the organizations into the chat for the people who joined us online, and then I can just copy them down and add them onto our beautiful open map.
Yes, I'll do that.
I'm thinking as well, it'd be really good to put any of the outcomes from today on an Etherpad.
Yes.
And then share to people who can make it.
Definitely. And into a blog post as well.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's all competition. And that's, I think we're the
Absolutely.
only actual.
I'm trying to think of the same thing.
Yeah, you're the only. With
Everything
your
else is
license and
profit.
everything.
Yeah.
This is what I think is really interesting. Open is almost defined by different sectors.
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
open in science can be just sort of, you can actually read it online for free.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really strange. I can't think of a single competitor in the open space for open corporates unless, I mean, the global one. The other ones are just local ones.
Open one's cool as well. But
I don't know their
open
names.
corporates model is really clever.
Yeah, I can't think of like a global one.
And I think it's also, there are commercial organisations who do open things.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I've
GitHub's
recently seen
a
so many.
company, isn't it? But
Yeah.
it does provide free hosting and that sort of thing.
Do we want to get them involved?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess.
We can ask them, and
Yeah.
they might say yes, and they might say no. Oh, Marielle, I'm sorry you can't hear us. We're just busy trying to map the open space at the moment, and so we're coming up with as many organizational names as we can think of who are kind of operating in the same spaces as the organizations that we work for, so that we can start developing a map. Christian, would you say that the Sunlight Foundation is about open spending or open governance?
It's probably open governance.
Well, I think either, like both those two labels are probably too limiting, but of those two, I would definitely see open government. They're very much about transparency in society, and as you know, they have a strong open data component in their work as well.
Yeah. And the Web Foundation?
Yeah, I mean, the Web Foundation are similar in many ways as to the Sunlight Foundation and also to Open Knowledge, in the sense that they focus focus a lot on open data. They do operate in other areas as well. And one of the things that they did recently that was really widely recognized was run this thing called the Open Data Barometer.
Mm-hmm.
It was like an international survey of how open data is being applied in different societies. So that, I think there's a large overlap with what we do, but also with what all of us in the Open Coalition are doing.
Mm. And who are Fundar?
Fundar is a Mexican organization that basically run campaigns for greater political transparency and again are adjacent to the open data space in the sense that they use technology to empower people to demand greater transparency.
Mm-hmm.
So they do really great work. I would strongly encourage anyone to go in and see some of the campaigns they're running. It's quite inspirational.
Awesome.
Ujahidi as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Open Institute in Kenya also doing really great stuff.
I think this is something to be aware of. Like, Christian, you know so many outside of the UK and Europe, and like, is someone having this exact same meeting in Korea right now? Like, how would we ever know?
Well, I'm actually having a conversation with Creative Commons South Africa tomorrow, because these conversations are happening in Cape Town,
Cool.
which is really exciting. And I'd like to think that they're happening in Korea and Kenya and the Russian Federation maybe as well, and I certainly I think they're happening in Australia. We're in contact with some people there, so I think there is a lot of it. Cool. We have a forest of post-its. So I think on the piece of paper that I stuck up on the wall, if we could start sticking our post-its there and maybe try and group them roughly by a subject area, perhaps. And obviously there's going to be drift between them, but I think it would be really interesting to see how it kind of starts panning out. So go for it. If you guys want to stick them up, and we can start unsiloing the silos. At least that's the plan.
I don't think your paper.
No, I don't think so. Good thing we've got more.
I'm asking the rest of my team to see if they can think of any more.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I think let's start just putting them up,
Yeah,
and then we can group them. What do they know?
It's a thing that you can do pre-information requests, and it's all like open, so you can see other people screen information requests.
Yeah.
It's run by an organisation called.
Okay.
So they do lots of things.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think? What needs to move?
I think a lot more stuff needs to be on it.
A lot more than
So
we need to pick the computer.
these two
Yeah.
are
Yeah, they've put in
organisations that
stuff as
produce
well.
open content.
Some more stuff.
Marielle
They
and
don't.
yeah, Marielle has put stuff
Facilitate
there.
other people to do it.
Rights group.
I really like that. Working at the Natural History Museum,
It is.
it's lovely to hear that people are also
Open
Yeah.
SNP sound really
Oh, that's
interesting,
great.
Marielle.
Just to do
Yeah.
something like that.
Because we've been wanting to speak to health people, but we've been battling to find them.
I don't find Jerry on Twitter.
I'm taking Stevie's. Give me some greens.
Anybody else with some more?
Where did you put the open data into? Roughly.
Ooh, next joke, yeah.
So here, which is, why can I not see them?
Maybe it's not on there yet.
Sorry, Christian.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Here we are.
Found it.
Thank you, Stevie did it.
Is Mozilla there?
Mozilla's here too. And Creative Commons. Stevie, thank you. I'm also probably aware that I'm instantly creating a hierarchy, which is not what we want, right?
It's okay, but this is like an unstructured one for
Okay,
now.
all right, then.
It's we can be yeah.
That makes me feel better.
And obviously the open data map is not just that big. If we once we're done with it, it'll be as big as this room.
Exactly, and that's correct, right? Okay, these guys are software, so I'm going to put them here. Yeah?
So maybe near GitHub somewhere.
Yeah. Or do you think we can move GitHub
Yeah, sure.
there?
That's like open software and open hardware in one tiny corner.
Exactly.
Open
Whereas
knowledge is the rest of them.
it's possible that none of this would have happened without it in the first place, right? School of Open, which is kind of connected to these guys.
What's that one? Creative Commons?
Yeah, so the School of Open is a project of Creative Commons, but they work with Peer-to-Peer University. It's a kind of collaborative project. And in fact, they also work with School of Open. Do you know which Wikimedia chapter they work with on their writing Wikimedia project?
I don't. They might actually do the foundation. I don't know. Because Jane's the main contact I have there, and she's always in the
San
States.
Francisco, yeah. Open right to. I saw them a second ago. Yeah. I'll just put it twice. So this is the beginning of our map. Wow. Amazing. We've got everything there. We've got the kind of established institutions like the Rijksmuseum and the Royal Society all the way to Arduino. I think that's kind of incredible. That makes me really happy. It also makes me realize that we have an enormous amount of people to speak to, which is exciting, right? As it should be.
I think the easiest way to do it, I don't know how it's the easiest way to do it, if you were to scale this in the least amount of time required from you, and if you really wanted to map it, I'm sure there must be some way that people could do this exercise without being too much of the admin work and trying to get together and then put them on a map.
Yeah. That might be an interesting way to do it, right? Would be to contact our friends in all of these different areas and say, could you make a map of your corner? And then ask everyone to submit those and then
corners, yeah.
pool them all together.
Yeah, actually that's not bad because people will always know about their own competitors in a way or collaborators, people who are like them, not friends, I suppose, but people in the same space.
Yeah. Could you read what's being added there?
Yeah, sure. He said, regards, citoyens, and then windmill, something, game monitor, something.
Yeah, no, I'm just listing more organizations, really. These are some of the ones that are like in non-English speaking countries.
Yeah, you can see from my pronunciation, I have absolutely no idea.
Well, the first one, Richard Citoyen, is French. I don't speak French, but they do great things. Windmill is in Hungary. K-Monitors in Hungary. Ciudadano Inteligente is in South America, and so on. So I don't know if we want to go into that much detail. I was just, brainstorming some more.
No, that's great. I think once we have an easy way of brainstorming this, then you'll be the first person she's going to email because you know so many.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Amazon Google Doc, which John has been contributing to, which is like the biggest contact list ever, where we're just trying to create this.
And there's also been things already, like Wikipedia's got category open source hardware and category open source software.
Yeah, and so there's, it would be silly of us to do exactly what we said we don't want to do by replicating efforts all over again. But I really like that your idea here of mapping the different, everyone does a little bit themselves and sends it to a kind of giant paintbrush drawing or a collage perhaps. It might be really nice to pick a bunch of photos and build a big collage of that.
Difficult to read the writings though for people.
Yeah, we have to ask them to write neatly. Can't join the coalition if your handwriting is illegible.
Exactly.
That's the only requirement. Cool. How are we doing with time?
75.
Do you think we could come up with the outline of a mission statement in 10 minutes?
Probably.
Certainly have a good go.
I think we should give it a red hot go because great things happen in short amounts of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Somebody said if you can't think of something in 3 minutes, then it's not happening.
Okay, well, how about, since we have 10 minutes, then that means everyone gets 5 minutes to think, and then 5 minutes to write and argue. And if you guys can hear me, we're thinking about mission statements, so any ideas you have would be great. I'm just going to go and get my phone so I can take some pictures.
Yeah, I'll write it in here for them.
I didn't quite catch that. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yes, you're loud and clear.
Okay, great. So we're thinking about mission statement now. So we've got 10 minutes to come up with, mission statement. So if you have any suggestions, please put that in the chat or just say it out loud.
Okay.
We're taking a few minutes to just collect our thoughts and then write them down on a piece of paper.
Right. Good. Thank you.
What is that thing called? You know when an industry has like an organization that's sort of like not like their union, but
Like a guild.
yeah, like something that represents this particular
Yeah, it's not quite a union, is it? It's like an association.
yeah.
I like a guild. I think if we call ourselves a guild, we can get a fancy building somewhere in central London.
Just because of her name.
Exactly. I think that would be perfect. Okay. Should we give it a bash? Yeah. I'm looking for inspiration at the end of a hot day. Come on.
Yes.
This is where you can keep firing on all cylinders. How should we let's think about the best way to do this? Stevie, will you describe for us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I think this, the Open Coalition should be like an association or a guild for the sector, which not only maps the sector and maps the sector to spot opportunities and increase collaboration, but also lobbies for better policy.
Did you say maps the sector for improved?
Matter to spot opportunities and improve collaboration. Or encourage, let's say encourage. Better word. And to lobby for better policies. Because I think that's really important.
Okay, so encourage collaboration. Lobby for. What's it? Lobby for.
Better policy or policy, like policy changes. And mapping sector.
Yeah, I think mapping is really important.
I've got a few. Help open organisations to work together better. Help open organisations to do their work. So it might be like sharing knowledge. Provide information about the open space. I think that kind of mapping is part of that. Work together to get funding we wouldn't be able to get individually. Provide information about being open to organisations outside the open space. Help organisations and individuals to be more open. And define what we mean by open when we say open. Because helping organisations and individuals to be more open may mean some people writing more stuff on Facebook about what you're doing.
It does feel like we need a definition of open, the same we don't have a definition of freedom. Free as in the beer.
You really think there's a difference? Like there's a need for definition? Because I always thought that, OKF has like really like set the bar in terms of like most people know. But what I have noticed in the recent weeks is that so many closed companies, as you were saying, are launching open projects.
Yeah.
To get on the bandwagon of being known as open, whereas the rest of their business isn't. Just like little one project is.
Yeah. It's
So
like greenwashing.
that's a threat. That's a big threat, I think.
Yeah. Do you think it's done for cynical reasons, or do you think they just don't understand open
Business. I
business?
think it's just to make money.
Oh yeah, and I think mostly that, and then just a very small percentage of naiveness. But like somebody the other day, I went to a meeting of like finance group, sustainable finance. I was talking about open data, and everybody else was at least 30 years older than me. So I was feeling a bit intimidated talking about open data because I was like, they were going to say, what do you know? Somebody was like, no, we publish lots of data. All of our reports are available in PDFs. They're all online, and we always send a newsletter with all of them. I was like, okay, so do you attach like the data sheet that that you're basing analysis on, or where it comes from? No, but why would we do that? We're a reputable organization.
Yeah.
Face palm. It's like, well, that's why.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose to look for a silver lining, if people think that it's going to make them more money or it's better business to start attaching openness to what they do, then that is a small victory for the open movement, right? They're doing it wrong, but it does mean that there is meaning.
Yeah. But it's also a threat for open organizations.
Yeah.
Because imagine somebody like Microsoft or, starts trying to be open. And Microsoft is a bad example, but you know what I mean. Whereas you have smaller open organizations, so that's their bread and butter as well.
Yeah.
And then that's a big threat because we don't have a voice as a sector.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because that's what's happened in publishing.
Yeah.
Now Elsevier, which we hate, plus is the enemy of Elsevier. But they make more money through open than we do. They still charge. But that's because they charge huge amounts for it, and it's like subscription journals. things like that. But the official FLOSS stance is fine if it's open, and that's okay if you want to publish in an actual open journal published elsewhere. Go ahead, which is good. But at the same time, it is a company. They have their missions. They want to keep promoting that. So we do want to publish that, but officially.
It kind of reminds me of the early ideological arguments about using non-commercial licenses and whether that was actually an open license or not. And there comes a point in that discussion where you think, well, you know, we're so far down the spectrum from people who aren't open that actually, if you're debating whether to use a non-commercial license or not, that's this tiny little bit at the end of the spectrum, and actually look at the progress and shouldn't we focus on that rather than the tiny little bit. Which, maybe it's also because I found those arguments incredibly difficult and I can never understand them.
I think it's very dependent.
Guys, I have to jump into another call, so I have to drop this call. Sorry. I've just added to the chat that the idea of maybe adding something about building team spirit in the open space or something along those lines. But yeah, really great discussion. I look forward to reading the notes for the rest of the call as well.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kristen.
No, thanks for having me. Real pleasure to meet everyone, and I look forward to take this forward.
We'll see you in Berlin.
Yeah, see you in Berlin, definitely.
Bye.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
Chris.
Adrian.
I think most of mine have been covered, but yeah, I have a collaborative group incorporating all areas of the open community, sharing resources and knowledge, promoting all open mission goals.
So what Christian said was that I have something about building team spirit in the open space.
Feeling a part of the larger team. Quite nice.
Oh, yeah. So I think we've got some kind of ideas there or phrases that we can, I think some of them can probably be merged and some of them are definitely worth holding on to. Can you read us the list there that you've got, Stevie, and we can maybe go through
Yeah,
and
so
see which one we want to pull out.
So we have, I've broken it down into a couple of definite areas. So there's the point about what kind of group will we be. It's an association, guild, union, collaborative group. And then there's certain things that have been picked out that we really need to look at. Oh, sorry. Very sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can see
Okay.
it, yeah.
So some of the things that we picked out, the type of organisation, things like an association or guild or union or collaborative group, helping open organisations to do their work and work together, which is really nice. Then there's a few things that have been picked out that we really want to capture the spirit of. So creating a greater team spirit across open, being a part of something bigger, encouraging collaboration, lobbying for better policy, mapping the sector, providing information on the open space, encouraging access to joint funding, all areas of the open community. There's shared mission and goals. And the biggest one is defining open, which is a really key task for this group. And what's really interesting is while we were thinking about this, I knocked up a one-liner which I thought might work, and that kind of sums up some of this stuff already. I don't think it's ready, but it's a start. It would be to support collaborations between those who believe in the cause of open as a starting point. It doesn't cover everything else. I think if we can get, if there's some kind of cause or virtue, that kind of gives us a sense of, it gives us a rallying point.
Yeah.
I think it's really important.
Yeah. And it also ties into that sense of the team spirit and being part of a bigger grouping, which I get a sense is something that we're strong about.
Yeah, because it's not just good for business, it's also good for society. And that's why most people are in the open, I mean, especially now, most people are in the open space for that.
Yeah.
People maybe in the future might be joining for profitability, which is okay, but that was the starting point. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one thing that's not really on there that could be something about many of these organisations are volunteer organisations.
Yeah.
I don't know how that really fits in. Like, then if Plus needs any volunteers, like if it has any kind of things that, like, you know, I'd love to be a volunteer for Plus in some way.
Yeah.
But
Well, yes, we
I think
to have 5,000 editors. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So sharing resources?
Yeah, it's just academic community.
Yeah.
Yeah, things through peer review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, why does it not?
Yeah.
And maybe it's about mobilizing. There's something about mobilizing communities, maybe. I think because for many of us, even if it's not necessarily volunteers that run it, the groundswell of community that makes this stuff happen, that kind of powers the activity, whether it's usage or kind of vested interest or buy-in, is really significant. Yeah. I mean, certainly P2PU at one point was completely volunteer run. And you know, open education is all about the community. Most of the organizations in open education leverage huge communities, volunteer teachers and students. So if we take Stevie's one-liner as a starting point, read that again.
I think it really needs to change because the starting point to have to support collaborations between those who believe in the cause of hope. There's still really big gaps, so I don't know if we want to have an approach where we have like a 10 to 15 word strapline, then with a broader statement of the things that we want to achieve.
And with the caveat that it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And probably will be for the entire duration of this project.
The beauty of it.
Exactly.
And there's an awful lot of partners as well that aren't here today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It would be really good to involve.
Yeah. I think an Etherpad would be very useful.
And I can make you a logo if you want.
That
As
would be,
Hera the human, not as Hera the open corporates.
that would be amazing.
I love doing that kind of stuff.
Oh, that would be so fantastic because I produce some really ugly
That's why-
things that I'm
that's why I was
too
like,
shy to
I will
put out there.
suggest it. Happy to do that.
That would be fantastic. Thank you so much. This is what I was getting to, like stick person poking head through door. It just was not professional at all. Would not have inspired funders whatsoever.
The cool place to look for that kind of stuff is the NAM project. The NAM project has lots of graphics, which are under different open licenses, and also you can also pay for it, depending on that. So you can just, I'm not a graphic designer, but that's what I do. I just pick the cool one, and then I know some Photoshop, so I just make it look a bit better.
Amazing. The NAM project.
Yeah, the NAM project. Yeah, and a lot of them are under open, attribution.
Yeah.
So we can use.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really useful. I use it for all the blog posts as well.
Yeah. It's really good to know.
And
Yeah, that's
strapline, open together.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, slightly too
And yeah.
Really cheesy.
Can you run us through some more of those?
Yeah. So some of the things we're looking to capture is opens can be good for both business and society. It's a really key point. That it needs to be aspirational. We want to be mobilising people. We want people to be taking action, to be doing things. There's lots of volunteer communities and lots of volunteer-led organisations. I think that's a really useful one to include. I think it's easy to go too far with it, but I think that volunteering does need to be really key.
Yeah. So if we were,
Yeah, sorry, go on.
oh, sorry.
No.
I was going to say, if we were to begin maybe with a statement of a we are type statement, because then what that might do is give us who we are and then what we do and then who we do it with. If we were to kind of split it into those three, and it feels like maybe we've nailed most of the what we do and a little bit of the who we do it with, but maybe we still need a we are, and we've got guilds and gatherings and various phrases there. So the Open Coalition is
The Open Coalition is a coalition of
It's a coalition of open. There you go.
all open all the time. Which I think is actually what I said we were on Twitter profile. And someone tried and said, "Is this a joke?" And I said, "No, it's not." Could you read the guild gathering phrases again? Because there was one that was really lovely there.
So there's association, guild, union, group. You put gathering.
Gathering suggests that it's like a meeting rather than something that's permanent. I can look at synonyms.
I like group, because that implies a choice in joining.
Yeah, let's not use community as well.
Yeah.
It's just done to death.
So,
Okay, here are synonyms. Family, breed, party, company, band. Band is cool. Gathering, congregation, assembly, collection, cluster, flock, pack, troop, gang, batch. I think that sounds the best one to me. But a band is good. Band is different. Or what about collection? Collective? You're the editor.
Just say coalition or group.
yeah, I mean,
Loose affiliation. Something like that.
at least affiliation.
Ragtag band.
Very nice. Definition of loose affiliation of organizations and community.
Let's not say community.
Leaving community out completely.
What's how?
Then the community goes bananas. You always have to.
Yeah. Group of organizations and bonds. Or group of team. What else do we have here? So, I want to be part of something bigger. So like team spirit. So group of. So group of groups.
At tiny tables with round nosed scissors. Does it make you think of like preschool?
It does, it really does. Well, what do we have so far?
The Open Coalition is a loose affiliation of something, 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 which does something, something to support collaborations between those who believe. And I'm wondering if maybe after to support collaborations between those who believe in open, we could add the and mobilize part.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, loose affiliation or parties. So there has to be some kind of, we want something that captures a collective, also an independence.
Or we think of the coalition as an umbrella. So we think about
Yeah.
think about it as the coalition is an umbrella for organizations, not of. And then that implies, I mean, it doesn't imply a service that is provided, which I don't know how we feel about that, but.
Do we need to be so specific?
Well, exactly, and bearing in mind that,
So many other people are going to look
this forever, and then when we put it online, everyone else is going to spend another 10 days presenting. So I think bare bones is good.
Yeah.
Panel meeting. It's it's banging the dancer.
Okay, so what do we have so far?
The Open Coalition is a loose affiliation of something which does something to support collaborations between those who believe in open and mobilize some people. And bearing in mind that I can take what you've written there, load it all into an Etherpad, put this up with the blanks, and people can.
Yeah, I think that sounds like it's just almost 5:20 now.
Sorry.
It's the time to go.
When you're working on.
I have a meeting at 7. That's the only reason I'm checking. I want to go home and eat something.
Well, should we do that? Should I take what Stevie's written, this, and the notes from what everyone has said, put them on an Etherpad, I'll share the link, and then we can tinker with it to our heart's content.
Yeah, and I'll make the logo.
Until there's like 1,000,000+1 after whichever one comes in. And we'll have a logo!
Yay.
So exciting. Actually, the logo is called the Stevie's Nice.
Yeah, you shouldn't worry about that kind of stuff. You can always count on me for that.
Oh, hooray, my go-to lady. Cool, well then I guess, thank you. Just say thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. This was last minute and experimental, and I'm always amazed at how people are so generous with their time when it comes to these sorts of things. It's really special. And I'm looking forward to another 5 months of this kind of exciting stuff.
But like next time, if we don't have that many people coming, can we meet somewhere in the sun?
Oh yes, just out and out.
Yes.
Possibly somewhere where there are drinks with ice in them.
Yeah.
For the garden. We do. Almost garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should take advantage of that. Cool.
Open.
With open sandwiches.
Anything with open goes.
That's right. Over the line now. Cool. Well, I've got all your contact details. You will be hearing from me soon.
Great.
Hopefully, we will be hearing from you too. Cool.
Sounds good.
Thanks, folks. Bye, internet.
Bye.
Have some juice if you don't need to wrestle. Or, harass the good people in the Wikimedia office.